Alright then, welcome back to Demon of the Week. So we are continuing with the 4 Demon Queens from Esconoli. So we've done the first 3, we're now doing the 4th one, which is Hekate. And, well, let's just do the intro and then we'll get into all of it. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Alright, so Hecate. This is probably one of the biggest ones. I mean, if you look at all of the major deities, gods and goddesses, etc., there's a lot of information about them. If you just narrow that down to the Greek deities, Zeus, Persephone, Hades, etc., the Titans and the Olympians, you're going to find that there's a lot of information about them because there's a lot of, there was a lot of textual bases to all of the information we have now. I mean, these were deities that have been written about since, probably around about the 9th century BCE. So we do have a lot of information that comes through from the scholars, from the old scholars and such. So there's definitely a lot of information. But when it comes to Hecate, I think you'll probably find there's a little bit more than a lot. So this video really is just going to be a very basic introduction to who Hecate is, just in case anybody out there has not heard of Hecate or has wondered about this particular spirit. Hecate has been with me for a very long time. She was knocking at my door for several years before I actually decided, okay, fine, I will answer it. And she is my matron. And, I think that differs, that idea of the matron or patron differs from person to person, how the interaction, how the relationship actually is. For some people, that relationship is very, very personal, very strong. It's a bond which is there daily. In my case, it's more of a guiding light in the background. I know she's always there. I know she's always pushing me in particular directions. I know she's always guiding me to particular things. But she doesn't have that more immediate type of interaction. Or I don't have it with her. Whereas a lot of people do. But definitely there. And I definitely celebrate her every month at Deep Non during the dark moon. And continually throughout the month, obviously. But anyway, let's get into Hecate. So as I said, this is going to be an extremely brief introduction. I'm trying to focus on some of the main aspects of Hecate. But there is a whole boatload, a ton, just think of the biggest possible measurement you can think of in weight, to actually discover about Hecate. So I do encourage you to go and explore further. Alright, so let's get into that. Alright, starting with correspondences, colours, violet, black, silver, orange, but my own personal colours are red, white and black for the 3 realms. Direction is, by Esconoli, is considered to be southwest. Some will say all the directions because she is a goddess of the crossroads. And faces in all directions. Element, usually water and fire, although again, some will say all, because she's associated with all directions and all elements. Planets, Pluto, Saturn and Moon. Moon phase, all again. But you will find it's that during the dark moon is probably the most significant. Astrological signs, Scorpio, metal, silver, stones, sapphire, moonstone, clear quartz, plants, saffron, mandrake, dandelion, lavender, myrrh, monk's hood. I would also like to add willow, and as an incense, copal. Tarot is the magician or the high priestess. Holy days by its colony is listed as Samhain and new moons. Now, I just want to say it's not actually a new moon, it's dark moon. In Hellenism, we have Deepnon and then Numenia. Deepnon is the moon before the new moon, before that first sliver appears in the sky. So it is a dark moon that we celebrate Deepnon and Hecate during that time, and then the next day, Numenia is considered to be the actual new moon. There is a bit of a mix-up between this new moon and dark moon thing, and I don't think you have to get it exactly on the hour and things like that, but something to bear in mind, just in case you do want to celebrate during the proper time of Deepnon. All right, so anyway, let's carry on. Other correspondences, eggs, well, there's a lot actually, but this is quite narrow. Eggs, garlic, breads, cakes, honey, wine, bones, paired torches, dogs, serpents, keys, knives, and lions. All right, there are a few N's. The two that I tend to use are Anna, Hekate, Ayer, At, or Ayen, Kacha, Ikar, Hecate. Okay, so some scholars believe that Hecate predates the Olympian gods, classifying her as a pre-Olympian chthonic deity. I was actually corrected on the pronunciation. It's not chthonic, it is actually chthonic. The CH is very, very silent. It's almost there, but not quite there in the proper pronunciation of the Greek word itself. I do, however, tend to kind of regress back to saying chthonic because it's so close to Cthulhu. I just end up doing that, chthonic. But it is actually chthonic. There's that, as I say, it's that very slight k that you can't actually hear, but it is kind of there. Okay, so but I was correct on that, so I thought I'd pronounce it properly today. Right, anyway, so classifying her as a pre-Olympian chthonic deity, meaning that she was a Titan. Now, some might say a child of the Titans, yet not an Olympian. She also held dominion over the underworld. Daughter of Perses and Asteria, the earliest literary reference to Hecate appears in Hesiod's Theogony, which dates back to 8th century BCE, where she is described as a powerful goddess revered in the skies, earth, and sea. Notably, Zeus, the king of the Olympians, bestowed upon her a unique privilege, a share in the power of all three realms. This sets Hecate apart, highlighting her unrestricted influence. Something that was mentioned in one of Sarita Deste's books was that the association with the old practice of sacrificing dogs to her is one which may point to her having origins outside Greece, because this was just something that was not done within Greek deity worship. There is some speculation that Hecate has a connection with the Egyptian goddess Hekate, who is a frog-headed goddess of fertility and childbirth. However, I would lean more toward a connection with the Egyptian god Heka. He was a god of magic and medicine. The word Heka itself means magic, but just to note, the Egyptologist Ogden Goulet stated, Heka magic is many things, but above all, it has a close association with speech and the power of the word. In the realm of Egyptian magic, actions did not necessarily speak louder than words. They were often one and the same thing. Thought, deed, image, and power are theoretically united in the concept of Heka. So Heka is very much connected with word, language, sound, vibration, logos, and things like that. We, however, also find that also find a possible connection or origin amongst the Carians of Anatolia. Now, Anatolia, now known as Turkey, but more specifically in Lagina, where we find a very important temple dedicated to Hecate. It is here where we also find most of the theophoric names that invoke Hecate or Hecate. However, she may be associated with the sun goddess of that particular area. Concerning epithets, you'll find that the Greek deities have many, many epithets, very similar to the Hindu gods. I mean, we speak about the 1008 names of Kali or the 1008 names of Vishnu, etc., etc. So these deities do have a lot of epithets. It describes them in different functions, in different ways we can view them, in different ways we can experience them, interact with them, and things like that. According to their myths. So, for instance, Hecate of the crossroads, Hecate the protector, Hecate the etc. 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 Obviously, these are Greek words, these epithets, but they apply to different aspects of these deities. If you do go have a look into Hellenism, and you have a look at the 3 days around the new moon. So we have the dark moon, the new moon, and then the day after the new moon. So that would be Deepnon, Numenia, and then Agathos Daimon. Agathos Daimon, I mean, really translates to good spirit, but in this case, it's a celebration, a day of celebration for the house spirit. And this is often connected with Zeus. And the epithet there is Zeus Ktesios. And the Ktesios translates to basically protector of the household, or protector of the warehouse. It has to do with wealth, bringing in wealth, prosperity, and things like that into your warehouse, your stronghold type of thing. So, you have all these epithets for different aspects of these deities, and Hecate has many, many, many of them. I'm only going to list a few, but let's talk about, I think, probably the main one, which is the three-formed, or the three ways, which are, anyway, let's get into that. So, triformis, or three-formed, and triodia of the three ways, or one who frequents crossroads. These reflect Hecate's association with crossroads. These junctions were symbolic thresholds between worlds, the physical and the spiritual, the known and the unknown. And the crossroads is a very important aspect within spirituality, witchcraft, magic, etc. Hecate reigned over these liminal spaces, acting as a guardian and a guide for those who dared to traverse them. Hecate, as I said, has many, many epithets, literally in the hundreds. Some of them, I just want to actually list some of them that I kind of feel have a very strong association to Hecate and myself, really. So there is Apotropeia, which is the one that turns away or protects. Brimo, the furious, the avenging, the dreaded crackling flame. Chthoniya, of the earth, or the underworld, actually. Enodia, she on the way, or she on the road. Autotokos, producing love, bearer of love. Kleidokos, which is holding the keys as the keeper of the keys of Hades. This is where we get the keeper of the keys aspect from. And there is Phosphorus, or also Lampadaphros, which is bringing or bearing light. So Hecate does have a Luciferian aspect to her. And there is Propylaea or Propylaea, which is before the gate. Now, I want to talk about the three heads of Hecate, or the three faces, or the three bodies of Hecate, because I feel this is a very important aspect. So the three heads of Hecate are more often seen as her dominion over the three realms. These three realms are usually seen as those of the heavens, earth, and sky, or sky, land, and sea. Some will say heaven, earth, and hell, but I'd rather not bring in that Christian aspect, really. They can, therefore, obviously be associated with upper, middle, and lower worlds, making Hecate the goddess that can traverse the entire cosmos and world tree or axis mundi. The depiction of these three heads, or as history would have it, often three bodies, had some changes that occurred over the millennia. Up until the or around the 5th century BCE, Hecate was usually depicted with just a single body. However, it was around this period that we started to see Hecate having three bodies, usually credited to the sculptor Alcamenus, I'm not sure how to pronounce that actually. This then developed into Hecate having three heads, which were often of different animals, sometimes being dog, snake, and horse, and others mentioning a cow or boar. We, however, mostly know Hecate's three heads or bodies as being human and always, usually, well, yeah, always feminine in nature. In modern times, this triple aspect has been associated with the triple goddess figure of Maiden, Mother, and Crone. However, it should be noted that the Maiden, Mother, Crone triple goddess was introduced by Robert Graves in his book The White Goddess, and that was first published in 1948. Prior to that, the triple goddess of Maiden, Mother, Crone didn't exist. So I would be very wary of actually applying that to Hecate, but a lot of people in our modern times do. They see that appropriate, so I guess that's up to you. Now, what makes Hecate's triadic nature significant is not just the representation of three distinct aspects, but also the interconnectedness and interdependence of these realms. Life, death, and rebirth are not isolated events, but rather part of an ongoing cycle, a continuous journey of growth, transformation, and evolution. The cycle never ends. Hecate's presence as the goddess of the three realms underscores the inherent unity of existence and the eternal rhythms that bind all living beings. Through her triadic nature, she reminds us of the sacredness of life's transitions, the mysteries of the unseen, and the enduring power of the divine feminine. Now, in Four Demon Queens, Connolly states her magical purposes as being magical power, feminine wisdom, intuition, scrying, binding, crossing the veil, necromancy, opening gates and portals, and protection of home and person. She also says that Hecate is the goddess of magic, the crossroads, protector of the home, and she rules over knowledge of herbs and plants. Other associations may include the night, moon, and underworld, as she rules over the nighttime realm. Hecate was depicted carrying flaming torches, illuminating the path for travelers, very much the Luciferian aspect. Her connection to the moon, often seen as a source of mystery and magic, further solidified her role as a mistress of the unseen. As a chthonic deity, she held sway over the realm of the dead, sometimes accompanying souls on her journey to the underworld. The night and the crossroads were believed to be frequented by restless spirits. Hecate was often depicted with spectral hounds, acting as both a mistress of these creatures and a protector against them. Also, in terms of the hounds, some people will call them hellhounds that she's often depicted with. But there is an association with Hell Hades, in that she has a definite connection with Kerberos, the three-headed dog that we find in Hades, and also in Harry Potter. But the guardian of the gates of Hades, really. And as mentioned previously, Hecate is usually worked with during the dark moon as opposed to the new moon. This is when Daemon is recognized, and it is also the time when we honor the ancestors and the blessed dead. The new moon is then recognized as Numenia the following day. So when I say we also celebrate the ancestors and the blessed dead, there is an aspect of the deep non-ritual where you take your offerings and you lay them at crossroads, and then you walk away and you don't look back. If you look back, it's said that you invite the dead with you to come back home with you. So there's definitely a connection with celebrating the dead. All right, so that is my very, very brief introduction to Hecate. As I said, if you do want to know more, there's a lot of information out there. What I would suggest is going to have a look specifically for books by Sarita Deste. I'll put links in the description. I'm also going to try and compile a category on my Amazon shopfront, or whatever it's called. So I'll put a link to that in the corner, the icon thingy that you can click on. Go straight to that category and see all the books in there. It's going to be specifically focused on Hecate. There's going to be a lot of Sarita Deste's book in there with David Rankin. Yeah, David. And what I'm not going to put in there though, but you'll probably find a lot of associations with Hecate, and it's an author I really, really like. So I'll put those in the description below if you want to link to those to Amazon. And if you do go to my links, my Amazon links, I do get a commission. I really appreciate that. Using that to try and get more books to review on the review episode. The one author that I would also recommend, which I'm not going to put in that category list of books, is Jason Miller. A lot of his books, he's got a very strong connection with Hecate and works a lot with Hecate, and a lot of his books is protection magic, consorting with spirits. All of these books they brings in a lot of Hecate into his writings, so go and check those out as well. But yeah, I'll definitely put some books in. There's a couple authors which are very noteworthy. Okay. So anyway, that's that for this week. I will see you next time. Have a good one until then, and cheers. Bye bye.